Today I've got a little bit of an alignment issue here, and I'm going to show you what's going on. Getting our clutch linkage set up, and we got our inner pivot, and down there is where the outside pivot is on the strut rod bracket. And if that goes up there, that's going to be way too much angle. Way too much angle for that. So we got to get that moved. Tell you what the story is. So guys at the AMC forum and a bunch of different reference pictures and everything has got me pretty sure that these brackets that were supposedly for V8 manual cars are most likely in fact not. So these are most likely V6, not V6, I didn't have V6 in these cars. These are 6-cylinder car brackets, which were also used on V8 automatics. And I think that's where a lot of the bad information is coming from, right? Because these brackets also have a D hole for the, that would seem to fit a pivot, but it is not in the right location. And so being that the bracket is incorrect is actually probably the best outcome here. I'm obviously not going to be able to find a V8 manual bracket in any short order, so we're going to modify bracket that we have. So I've got this bracket in the car. I've got another one, the very same, sitting on the ground, and we'll go take a look at that, see what we're going to do. All right, here's a bracket, and this hole here is where I've got that pivot installed and it's not correct. It also has this hole here, which is too big for the pivot. So I think our way forward is going to be to weld this hole up and drill new in a location. So I'll get this welded up, then we'll take it back to the car and see what makes sense for locating the new hole. Well, if only there was a record showing how I put this in last time. I don't actually think I can go through the top. Maybe. Wait a minute. Maybe. No, not that way. Negative. All right. How are we gonna get this in there? It's not a secret. Gotta go from the bottom. Okay. Easy job there, huh? Easy peasy. Quite sure why. I gotta remember why I take those. And get a shot down in there, probably. Okay. So look down in there. We got lots of room for the Z-bar here. So we can get this in here without causing too much trouble. Okay. So there's that. We got lots of room down there. Good. And I'm thinking well, I don't know what I'm thinking yet. I think maybe I will do it by eye, I guess, and take a measurement from this stud where it's at there to where I like the Z-bar. And then we'll do some math and figure out how far away that is to center that hole, the new hole I gotta drill. See how that turns out. A little bit hard to see past all that junk. But what I want to do is I want to measure from my pivot there the best I can. I guess just to get a round figure of what we're looking at. Just trying to eyeball the center of the pin, and if I'm a little bit off one way or another, there's quite a bit of wiggle room here, I think. But I'm not going to be able to see. Well, here's how I'm going to do that. Let's get this position where I think it ought to be. That seems like it's pretty well squared up to the I'm gonna go with that. And then I will measure to this point that I can see here on the outside of the bracket of the arm. So I've got my one. There, so it's looks like I'm getting 2 3/4 on the tape, minus 1 would be 1 1/4 to the outside of the bracket. Then I need to get this, or the outside of the arm rather. So that was 1 3/4. Now I got to take a bit of a measurement. Let's get this up here. Then we'll come over here. Okay. So now I can take measurement there to the center, which looks to be 3/4, and subtract that from my total measurement, which was 1 3/4. So I need to move the hole 1 inch. The other question we've got to answer is about height. So we're going to get back into our hole here. And then we will, height is going to be about the same. I don't think it's going to change, but I got to kind of get a reference point because it's kind of hard to figure the angle when the bracket's not in the car. And so the height looking down there to make sure it's going to clear the transmission when it pivots. Height-wise. Okay. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I got the edge of the tube riding against the edge of the pivot. And feeling for where it is the highest. I gotta say, I think if we just put it right in the middle of it, obviously we'll take a measurement, but I think our hole's gonna end up right where that big hole is that we welded up. Put it this way, worst case scenario, if it doesn't line up, we can just weld it back up and drill again, right? Okay. Well, we'll take that 1-inch measurement and see where we fall on the bracket that we got off the car already. All right, put a little bit of marker on that spot we welded and ground so that I can mark it and see the mark. I think I'm probably going to go in line here with this angle, or at least try to. And we just need 1 inch. Really eyeballing stuff here. Really just eyeballing. And that seems like a better spot right there. Alright, so I will center punch that right at the top of the point. If I can find my center punch. Okay, we don't need that piece, but I do need something underneath all this. Is that gonna be enough? You know what? That actually might be okay. I am gonna drill a pilot. I got a little stubby. Got little stubby. All right. It's a little hot. I have to move my table down a bit. That's probably smoking. That's probably smoking hot. It is. So what size hole do I need? Yeah, let's dump more shavings on the ground. Get the old index. Boy, that one's chowdered up. It's probably the size I need too. Yeah, it is. It is the size I need. Oh man. I can file it, but jeez, that's far too big. Okay, what are we using? A 7/16 is what I'm using. be a good idea to use a clamp once in a while. All right. Okay, this is probably not going to be the easiest thing to see. All right, I got a pivot relocated over here, and we're going to get the Z-bar installed just to see how our alignment is, and if it's good, then we'll go ahead and recreate that flat. Where's my Z-bar here? All right, here we go. Z-bar's got to go in first real quick. This method is only going to work if you're able to get the strut rod bracket off. Try to get this stud in this hole here in the bottom. And then everything else kind of lines up really good. Alright, kind of like that. Come back up top and see how we did. All right, what do we have here? All right, as far as get that over here a little bit so we can see. The alignment front to back is, it's okay. It's okay. Not perfect though. I guess, what am I aiming for? I mean, there's no clearance issues here that I can see. long as I got the opportunity, I think I may want to move that hole forward just a touch, if I'm being honest with myself. Although I've seen some images of other cars where there is a slight angle to it, so maybe splitting hairs. I think we need to go down maybe a little bit as well. Down and forward, perhaps. Yep. Okay. No. Sucks, but it must be done. All right, here's what we got so far. What I did is I just ground this out, this bottom edge out, and then put a little weld up here, filed it flat so we can get our mating section there. Make a nice little D-hole. Easy peasy. Threads are all boogered up, so that's great. Pad or something there. Keep chipping paint. Alright. See if it made any difference at all. So, next step is going to be getting the pedal assembly in and getting our push rod installed and seeing how all that linkage comes together. All right, so I wasn't real happy with where this hole was before, so I took it out, welded it back up, and we got ourselves a new spot here. We're gonna try and get this in the car, see how that bar lines up. A good look here. We've got linkage here. Now that the pivot's been relocated, looking much better with that alignment than it did before. Quite a bit happier with that. Obviously we got some accessory pieces to put underneath there. Or some, we got some dust boots. There's another cover for the transmission to go on. And obviously everything needs bolted back up before we can call it done, but I think we're well on our way at this point. Then we can do some adjustment later with the rod and the push rod there. All right, what do we got here now? Okay. Definitely liking that a lot better. Need to extend that rod out a little bit, I think. Guess let me measure from the pin. Getting a new battery here quick. Measure from the pin to the rod. I'll put that rod in kind of the middle of the it's 1 inch to the center. So I need at least an inch here, which is that, which is right there at the junction, but I also have to go over a little ways. So I need to go down an inch, but I also need to go over how far? I'm gonna need to go over like an inch and 3/8, inch and a quarter. Yeah, maybe just an inch. Go down an inch, over an inch. Alright, did a little bit of reading in the service manual, and it's saying pedal height from the floor pan should be 6.5 inches. So at 6.5 inches, that's where my rod ends up. That's not going to give me enough to get where I need to go. So I'm going to have to add a little bit. I do want to put a mark on here to help me with my measurements. So where I put that, I slid that bushing up to where it, oops, sorry, to where it needs to be, or where the mark is, or where a mark should be. Just gonna put a little mark there for reference. Okay. this is likely to go terribly wrong. So here's my plan. We're going to take this rod. Am I taking them a bend? A little jog off here. Measure our inch offset and send it back this way. And then see how much we need to add or take away. And then I can add some in this section. Get this turned down and see how it goes. Just need to make sure I'm bending in the right direction. I'm guessing that's fine. Gotta heat this baby up though, because it needs some help. Pretty thick. All right, see how we go. Oh man, I don't have much gas. Okay, worst case scenario is I've got to straighten it out and do it again. So here's what I figure. Found where my inch lays on the outside, so that's where I'm going to bend back, and hopefully this outside radius gets us where we need to be. So I'm just kind of eyeballing into the vise here where that mark was, and just taking a quick measure here on a reference, because when I heat it up it's going to be kind of hard to see. We'll give it a go. See if it works. Who knows? I say I can always bend it back straight and start over. Losing my heat. Oh man, it's beating it all up. Wish I could put it in here, but it's not. I don't have enough room. I mean, pretty close for an eyeball. Pretty close for an eyeball. A little twisted, I guess. We'll worry about that later. Gotta let this cool down. I gotta get this in the car and do some reference checks. Alrighty, now back here. Did a little bit of measuring. I'm gonna go with 1.5 inches here from our hole up to where I'm gonna bend down. So that puts us right on the bend there. Right in the middle of the bend. Which is going to be kind of maybe a tough little thing to do, but I don't have a whole lot of choice, I guess. I mean, I got lots of choices. But this is what I'm going to do. And this, when I bend this, obviously this rod's going to be too short. We'll get back to the car and then see how much we need to add to this center section to meet up with our linkage. bit of a twist in there. See if we can twist ourselves out of that mess here. Okay. See how we did, I guess. We're a little shy. We're a little shy, maybe. We'll see. Let's let it cool down and see where we're at. Okay, how much can we see? Well, that's not so bad, I guess. All right. So, got a rod here attached up at the pedal. And I need to take a quick measurement from the pin to the rod. And that should tell me how much I need to lengthen my rod, which I'll put in that section there, I think. So it's kind of a delicate little operation here. So I'm gonna push this all the way up. That's the extent of the travel there. And let's see if we can get in here for a measurement. I want to get your eyeball 3/4 of an inch. Looks to be about center of my. Looks to be about center to center there. About 3/4. About 3/4. Oops. So we'll do that. We'll do 3/4. Okay, I'm going to add that 3/4 of an inch here at this section, because all of this is fine. I don't want to mess with this dimension too much, but once it gets out of the firewall, we've got some room to. So I'm just going to slop that right off. Right there. Boom. 3/4 of an inch. And I got some 1/4 inch rod. So I think this is. We'll see. Get a piece cut and see how it goes. perfect. Okay. Can we see down in there? Sure. All right, I fiddled with it a little bit. Got it hooked up on both sides. No clips or anything in here. But I can operate the pedal. Through its range, and I don't... Well, there's a little bit of... rubbing right there that I don't like. I'm going to get rid of that. I know. Now, some of my issues is not all tightened up. However, I think for this moment, I think we've got a pretty good proof of concept to the point where I know I've got all my clearances that I need. If I need to do any adjustment later on final install, I can tweak this push rod some more and get it really dialed in. As it is, I can go through the whole range of motion. Moves freely, no interference with anything. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I think we'll go ahead and call it there, maybe. Let me get this rod back out. And see. Exactly what we did. So a couple of things I tweaked. Did a little bit of a twisty action here to get that lined up a little better. Also lessened that angle a little bit, so this is a little bit more extended. Kind of helped drop this whole assembly down, and then I straightened out this bend was more right angle-ish, and I straightened that out so that I could lower this section going through the firewall. And it seems to be working pretty good. And I'll go ahead and finish weld that up and get it ground up. Probably won't do a paint on it until I'm ready to get completely installed. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get this linkage all taken out of here. And then I will go ahead and move on. We'll get, I guess, headers are a good thing as anything to do next. At least get those out of the way. Then we'll start putting some getting the steering suspension shored up. Getting all the accessories on the engine. And get the wire harness started. Throw a seat in the dash and all that jazz in there. And man, we're gonna be ready to start this thing up pretty soon. I say pretty soon, yeah. Pretty soon is pretty soon, I guess. See you next time. Guess I wasn't done. I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, getting this thing adjusted. And I wasn't happy with the rod down there. When I had this thing originally, it was all the way at the end of its range. And I was a little bit nervous. I had maybe one or two threads left on that rod. So I couldn't live with that. And I ended up adding an extra inch and a quarter to this rod. So remember, we originally did 3/4 of an inch extension here, and ended up with an extra inch and a quarter for a total of 2 inches, which is quite a big difference. But I was in and out of the car, up and down, getting this thing to the point where I think it's going to give me enough adjustment when I get down to actually getting this thing tuned up. And how I did it is I put the transmission in gear, and I come in here on the pedal, and with the rod engaged, I just wedge it so that it would stay down. I just put a piece of wood in there, like so, to keep that pedal engaged. Went down underneath the car, just kept going back and forth, figured out the length on everything until I could rotate the tail shaft on the transmission with the clutch pushed in. So we got it to that point, and I think now I can call this one pretty well done. And obviously that rod needs a little bit ground up, painted, and get the final install going. Here, move on, get some headers in, get the steering, suspension pieces up front tidied up, and then we'll start getting some accessories on this engine. Ooh, we're flying. I'm pretty happy. So we're going to get a step closer each time. See you next time.